All right, today we're hitting back. And I don't know if it's because I'm constantly fighting off the inner asshole that makes up the majority of my personality, or because it takes a concerted effort for me to be a good human, but I realized I haven't done a full back day in a long time, which is incredibly important because if I asked you if you wanted wider lats or a thicker back or more of a V taper, your answer would be yes. So let's stop wasting time. Let's get after it. So back is one of those body parts I can never just walk in, hit 2-3 exercises, and call it a day. It's just not enough for me. It's composed of 2 different muscles to the point where you could break it down into sections. But with that being said, I would never split up back training. I know a lot of people like to do lats on one day and then pair mid back and lower back with something else. To me, that's disgusting. It's almost as bad as training quads and biceps together. You feel that? Vomit. It's coming. So today I'm going to be a little bit more succinct on the reasons I chose certain exercises, as well as the tweaks on form, because we got a lot more to go through. And I don't think it's important what section of the back you hit first. You can go lats first, you can go mid back, although I wouldn't recommend hitting that lower back first unless you got some sort of deep-rooted self-hatred, because you could potentially blow that back up and ruin your entire back day. So what I'm going to start with is a little bit more mid back, that lower lat, by doing a seated cable row, but using 2 individual handles and leaning forward. Now the reason for the individual handles is because I'm gonna really get my elbows involved during this movement. During the negative portion, I'm gonna drive those elbows in as much as possible to flare those lats out. And as I come back and contract up, not only am I gonna pull it towards me, but because of the individual handles, I'm gonna try to pull it apart as much as possible to engage those lats. And the lean forward is because most people just do this wrong. They just focus too much on pulling as much weight as possible, which if you need to do it, do 1 set, pull the whole stack, be done with it, lighten it up. Because what I want you to do is lean forward, because if you lean back, it's all traps. You lean forward, just do it in your chair right now. Sit in that position, you're gonna feel your mid back just light up. Now just imagine pulling weight in that position, it's gonna hurt. Next up, we're doing a variation of a lat pull down with a similar concept of the last exercise. So using those 2 individual handles because God forbid anybody else gets to use them. So what I want you to do is lean forward during the negative portion of the movement, but this time it's not to get that mid back involved. It's in hopes of really stretching that lat. So just as important as you lean forward to stretch that lat, make sure you don't let that arm extend. If you do, you got to engage that bicep. You'll lose the connection to your lat. So make sure you keep that elbow in a fixed position. And really, it should feel like you're doing a pullover the entire time. And at the very bottom, really just separate those handles to engage them even more. All right, next up we went absolutely nowhere, because sometimes it's just nice to sit on a machine and ruin somebody else's day. And it goes without saying that different handles help you target different parts of your back. That's obvious. But what I really wanted to emphasize by taking a wide grip is that sometimes we forget to focus on what we should be pulling with. Because truthfully, unless you're really underdeveloped human, a fully contracted back won't get that bar down to your chest. You got to get those biceps involved to get it all the way down. So this movement's really about lasering that focus, contracting just with that back, and taking all those secondary muscles out of the equation. Next up, we got bent over dumbbell rows. And the way I typically do these is parallel to the floor. And the reason for that is I want to make my entire back work as hard as possible to stabilize me and keep me upright. And the benefit here over just doing traditional barbell is that just by rotating your wrist or changing the angle of your elbows, you can completely change this movement. So if you have any shoulder impingements, you might want to take a neutral grip, or if you want to hit those traps, you can do what I'm doing today, which is flare those elbows out. So you're pulling up into that upper back. So then the entire movement is that lower back driving all the way into that upper back. All right, we're finishing up with reverse hypers. Now, if you have the machine for these, by all means use that. But if you don't, it's still a phenomenal exercise just doing these off the back of a bench. Doesn't mean that people won't see you putting your junk close to where they lay their head and never use that bench again, but that's their problem. The only difference here between this one and the dedicated machine is you're not going to use weight on these, so you want to slow down the movement and really contract that back. As always, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Leave a comment for the video you want next, and get after it, get growing. Talk to you soon.